Hello, everybody. Mariner here, and welcome to Net That Haul. I'm so confused, Nima. I still don't know what week it is. I've now had a full week of industry, and shall we say the industry won? How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still on the tail end of my cold or flu or whatever I had. It's like 10 days deep now. But I'm recovering well. Back to the office today, so
that's the main
all
thing.
good. Yeah, I'm all good. Not the best of game weeks, but I'm sure we'll come on to that.
I'm the same. I just feel like I'm just bimbling around between 100 and 200k, up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit. Can't really make any ground up, and it's always the play. I'm getting returns, not as many as some, of course, but problem is it's not my differentials who are returning. And that's the big difference between last year and this year. Differentials aren't coming through.
Yeah, no. So most of the players that are returning, like everyone has, right? So it's not really gaining much. It reminds me of 2 seasons ago where I spent like 17 weeks between, I think, 100 and 200k, and eventually like a breakthrough came. So I think you just got to be persistent. Obviously, these differentials haven't worked for us, but eventually there will be a week when we'll get like a Foden haul or kind of the Tony hat trick, things like that. Like we need one of these like 20 pointers from someone who's under 20% owned, and suddenly our season will turn around.
Yeah, the issue is, are we going to hold it? Are we actually going to own them when they get those hauls, or worse still, are we going to sell them? Because I tell you what, one player I'm looking at possibly offloading is Tony. Oddly enough.
Yeah, no. Salah, you're looking to offload too, so I'm sure we'll come on to that. We've got the midfielder conundrum.
I could offload him for anyone. I could offload him for a wheelie bin right now. I did look at a really smart move. I thought Philip Billing looks really cool. He's very close on statistics as well.
I guess he did well, didn't he? Obviously, we were shouting him out when everyone was going for Solanke. We said Billing was an alternative option, but
yeah, we did.
So it's good to see him get some points there.
Got that right. That's right. Okay. So anyway, let's have a look at Game Week 11. But before we do that, shall we do the usual bits? Do you want to do the haulers, and then I'll shout them out in the show. We'll have a quick look at the Minileague, and then we'll crack on.
Sounds good. So thank you to all the super haulers, all our members on YouTube. So we've got Harbour Boy, Daddy Bot, Greenback Golf, Sarah Gatsby, FPL Robbie, and then the rest of the haulers on YouTube who are supporting the channel: Akshay, Turskex, C Hunt, FPL Penguin, FPL DG Boy, Lindsay, Davindra Raj, FPL Casuals, Tom Gorosh, Stuart Fletcher, Mr. Twister, Blonde, S. Scotters M, Firetog, FPL Teacher, Oscar Arias, Donny FPL, FPL Mike Halpin, who's here tonight as well, Sean Berg, Jack Daglish, Nahal, Kevin Rose, FPL Safa, Podner, FPL Craig, Dread FPL, and Dom Black Dragon. So big thank you, guys. And then also on the podcast listener side, we actually got our first ever Patreon, who's now also joined the Discord server. So obviously the Patreons, for those who don't really watch on YouTube, if you're just listening on podcasts and you want to support the channel and get access to all the metrics in advance and chat to the team and have a nice little community of about 30 of us in there now. So Tom, who joined on Patreon, thank you. And Lucian, who also joined on Patreon, as well as being a YouTube member. So big shout out to FPL Teacher for supporting on 2 formats. Just for
what a star.
Yeah, what a great guy. And obviously, like, I know we use some of his stuff in the matchups with Gabe, and looking forward to try and get him back on a bit more in the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think we're getting towards having to a bit of a rejig in the World Cup, probably. I think things are just coming so thick and fast right now, aren't they? But yeah, we will, I'm sure. No, Lucian's a good supporter, isn't he? So anyway, Minileague, let's have a look. We've got Misclick at the top with Tour Gear. 84 points this week. Good result, mate. 655 overall. And there's his team on the right-hand side. I managed to get it formatted this week. Pope in goal. Well, that's not working very well for anybody. We're saying that. I think I saw a tweet from FPL General say he's decided to cut his goalkeeper off his tweet because he has been playing without one all season. I know that feeling. I've been in exactly the same position. I don't think I've had a goalkeeper return. Maybe one. I don't know. Anyway, James Trippier, again, doing bits. Cancelo netted that haul. And looks like that might be possibly a very, very good option going forwards. We'll talk about City. Certainly, I think people have gone off selling him. Saka as well, another player coming back into our minds as well. 15 points there. Martinelli, well, we called him pre-season. He continues to deliver. Todd Trent, another one. Salah, 2 points. Good God help us. Maddison, here we go. Another one who I own. 1 point. One of the differentials I wanted to return didn't. Mitrovic didn't play again. I ruined him clearly. Haaland, 12 points, captain. And Solanke, 8 points. Brave. I suppose at that price, he's going to come in. He's going to come in some weeks, but look who he has first bench. I hate him.
Yeah, no, Andreas is firmly rooted to my bench.
Yeah,
third. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. On a hindsight, I do question why, when I already had Ward in goal from Leicester, why I then put James Justin first on the bench. I think I was riding a bit high off that Leicester clean sheet the week before. Now they're back to 20th in the Premier League after the draw tonight for Forest, who've now gone up to 19th. So I think Rodgers and Gerrard, they're both on borrowed time, to say the least.
I mean, look, there were a lot of people clipped what I did last week when I was talking about that game. It was just any time to see Forest with a positive fixture difficulty says for defence absolutely screams that the other side is hopeless.
These guys are shocking.
Yeah, I know we spoke about forwards last night. You asked me to include Watkins. I left him out.
Well, I know someone who has Watkins, FPL Pig, and he's looking to transfer him out despite him having a fixture in Gameweek 12. Actually, one of the things I saw that was quite interesting was 5 losses in a row for Villa, conceding 18 goals, including 6 against newly promoted sides. So it is Forest even. So Forest, they're 19, 5 losses in a row, 18 goals, 6 from promoted sides. Step up Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa, 1-1, 2 shots on target. So Gerrard's Villa managed 2 shots on target against a team with 5 losses in a row who've conceded 18 goals, including 6 against newly. That is just shocking. Like we knew Forest weren't doing great, but the fact that the Gerrard team could only get 2 shots against these guys on target, like that, I don't even know. I don't know if you've seen the bonus points for this match, but
no, I haven't,
they're in the single figures, like for every single player.
Awesome. Anyway, let's quickly cover the rest of this mini league. So in second place, we've got De Jong shot with Chris Fee. 654 points, just a point behind. Lots to score. Lottie Adele third, equal third with Obaid in fourth and fifth, actually. Matt Pryor, the cricketer, maybe. Who knows? 650 points. Toley, David Hood, 6, alongside Brian Pillman's Kane, Elron Cupboard. It's very tight there, isn't it? Look at that. 10 points between the top 8.
I can't believe this Obaid FPL Milanista. He was here last year as well on the top. Like he's just always in the top.
It's a super player.
He is. I've been playing Champions League against him, and he's bloody flying in that every year as well. He's just honestly relentless. And actually, Lottie Adele, shout out to her as well. Like I know, I think we follow each other on Twitter, and she's been a good supporter as well. So nice to see her doing well in the mini league. But yeah, Dan, the FPL way, your Brokeback Mountain, as you like.
Yes, I keep calling him. Yeah,
he's slowly dropping down the table despite the 71 pointer. But
yeah, there's also a few other names I know. Connor Hunt as well. Spain without the S. Payne. Perfect. I like that name. He's there as well. 646. And poorly managed team by Kjell Everson in 10th place. I think it's equal 10th. I just cut the other one off. 643. Couldn't fit him on the pitch.
Anyway, there's any non-Holland captainers, but there are no non-Holland captainers. 7 million captains last week, new record that he broke of the most captain player in the history of the game.
I was disgusted he didn't have an hat-trick when I turned it on after 15 minutes.
Were you not disgusted by the fact that he had over 200% EO in a single game week? So
I was totally disgusted. I wanted him to blank.
Like, I don't think I go that far because like 1% of his points against us isn't that bad. Like, but still, it's like for every 100 points he gets, we lose 1 point in rank. But still, it's
Yeah,
just I
I
can't
thought
believe
live
it.
FPL was broken. I was sort of like shaking it, trying to find out where Haaland was. Was my
He
point
wasn't
right?
in your team for like your
Yeah,
game. Yeah, he's just like he's in the against you section,
yeah.
and
I
you've
thought it was
captained him. What
broken.
the
I thought it was
honestly,
broken.
the
Oh,
game is
Christ.
broken. I feel like you say, it's the differentials or bust is where we're going to make up our points for the rest of the season.
Well, we're going to have to try and do something. So what should we try and do? I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to start with a game which, of course, you'll know an awful lot about, which is Arsenal against Leeds. And I thought what we'd do is, because Gabe's not with us, shout out to Gabe, he's on holiday in Mexico, lucky bastard. He deserves a rest. He does so much work and preparation for the show. I don't think people realise how much work he does. So he needs a rest. And consequently, we haven't got his stuff this week. So we're giving him a complete free week. But what we thought we'd do is we'd do something slightly different. So what we did is we dug out the old graphics look.
They've changed a lot since the early game weeks. Martinelli was head and shoulders above, as was he last season. But Saka is slowly creeping back in.
He has. So first of all, Nima, let me have a quick look at the matchup, and then I'll let you loose on this one. So Arsenal with a positive fixture difficulty away. There's a new one for us. They were a laughing stock last year. 0.8. Defensively, very slightly positive at 0.4. Don't really tear trees up, but Arsenal's away form is nothing like the home form as historically. But although this data is now becoming a lot more relevant, and therefore what you're starting to see is the form coming through. As for zonal matchups, left 3.7, centre 5.2, right 3.4. For Arsenal, so clearly down the middle again, with and then a little bit from the flanks. Nothing with respect to headers, which is surprising because do you know what? Leeds used to be awful at conceding headers, didn't they? But they're not this year. I have expected to be able to shout out an Arsenal-headed matchup here this week, but I didn't. Leeds, obviously negative, slightly negatives, reversing on the fixture difficulty. Not an awful lot on the zones, but hey, I don't think you'd expect something against top of the league. But a little bit more on the headers, interestingly enough, 2.5. Leeds have got Bamford back as well, which we'll talk about him later on. Could be a little bit of maybe a bit of a problem because he's been limped back in, really.
Yeah, he's been getting a decent amount of minutes, hasn't he? Like just
surprisingly,
a little bit here and here.
255 minutes, in 6 appearances. So he's been brought back nice and steady. So I don't think you need to worry too much about Bamford right now. Hopefully he's going to stay fit. But let's get to the matter in hand and Arsenal, Nima. I'm super impressed with them. I'm sure you are. I bet you're rather, as a fan, I bet you're rather excited too. But looking at these stats, we've got Martinelli against Saka. Now, obviously, this is the last 6. So Saka edges Martinelli on XG, 0.5 against 0.38. Martinelli offers more of an assist threat, which surprised me, actually. 0.47 against 0.19. Big chances, Saka blows him out the water, 0.67 against 0.34, probably penalties. And expected goal involvement, 37 for Martinelli against 31 for Saka. So they're okay, over just about a third of the goals involvement or expected goals involvement they have. Obviously, there's a big price difference. Are we close, Nima, to be considering owning both of these after game week 12?
Yeah, so the fixtures through the World Cup after game week 13 onwards, they're very good, actually. So there's Southampton away, Forest home. The only real tough fixture there is Chelsea away, and then Wolves away is the one after. So, in those kind of 4 matches, Chelsea away is the only one, and it wouldn't surprise me the way the team's playing to get a goal there either. So we've actually scored 3+ goals in 6 of our 9 Premier League games, which is like unheard of. So in terms of just like the raw attacking numbers, like underlying and like the actual outcomes themselves, like it's been incredible to watch. I think both wings are very productive. So I'd see nothing wrong with going for both. I feel like the defender, like owning someone like Saliba could be interesting, but I am wondering whether we are in that kind of triple attack territory, especially those who are like me on Game Week 13 Wildcard. You can do something that maybe others can't get too easily because they're probably selling Arsenal assets for the blank, and they're not going to want to carry too many more than 3 Arsenal and City players combined. So you're in this situation where someone like me, I can like sell Jesus in Game Week 12 when he blanks, but then wildcard him back in and get Saka. So that's something that's very much in my thoughts. And to just completely forgo the defender. I'd say at this point, like most people who are playing seriously probably own Martinelli. He must be like close to $1 million up in his price now. So him and Saka aren't that far in price, but I still feel like Martinelli is kind of just like a season holder. So I wouldn't even be considering moving him on. So then that debate kind of comes in. Like, if you didn't want the triple attack, could you go Saka instead of Jesus now that we know that Saka's on penalties? Like, we obviously thought he was, but it seems pretty guaranteed now at 2-2 against Liverpool, like to take that penalty and to put it away despite Van Dijk trying to knock the ball out of his hand and all the commotion before it got taken. He kept his nerves. So I just feel like, from what I've been watching last few games, those wings are absolutely just blowing up right now. And there's kind of these triangles that are very productive. So on the left, like last game, we saw, I think it was Xhaka, Martinelli, and Jesus on the left. And then on the right, we saw Saka, Odegaard, and Ben White is very advanced. In fact, he's like overlapping and getting to the box and making passes. So there is a world in which if you wanted kind of Saka, Martinelli, and Saliba, I think that is a very viable route to go against Jesus. The only reason I say that is Jesus is incredible, but he's kind of pulling in all the players. So he's in the middle, like facing up to the 2 big centre backs, pulling them in, freeing up the space on the wings for these 2 guys. And it just feels like they're both only going to get better. They're both like, what, 2021? Like, they're barely at the beginning of their growth and trajectory. So honestly, watching them live, I think something I will say is I couldn't quite see, like, I always love Martinelli and Saka, but like, obviously this season I hadn't been to the stadium till last week for the North London derby, and now I've got 3 times in a week. So I went to Bodo, I went to Spurs, I went to Liverpool, and these 2 guys, like, they're just tearing teams apart. Like, Martinelli had Trent injured and subbed by half time, then you ripped Gomez a new one. Like, they just can't handle them. Like it's just something else. Like, I've never, like, honestly, I can't believe it. Like, they're literally kids and they're just destroying like seasoned Premier League winners.
I did see that coming. I saw this, the likelihood of Martinelli absolutely ripping one. And he ripped him one to such an extent.
He literally twisted his ankle and went off injured. He's like out for 2 to 3 weeks.
He's a busted flush. At this moment, I'm not saying he'll be. I'm not saying that the people don't become bad players, but form-wise, he is flushed down the bog and gone. He needs a break. Maybe this injury will give him a chance to go where nobody wishes any injury on anybody. Nobody wishes that. But maybe he just needs a bit of time out just to get himself right, because he's not the player he was, is he? But saying that, Liverpool are not the team they were defensively now. Liverpool are targetable.
Well, like Fabinho doesn't like even start anymore, and it's based on form. He's just not been that great this season. So, you would never think that would be the case. And then you got Henderson, who's, like, it's an aging squad overall. I think that's fair to say. I think they're like the 19th youngest squad in the league. So they are at the end of that journey. Obviously, there are some exciting assets there, but Diaz has gone off. He's out till after the World Cup, injured now. So I think we could attack Liverpool assets after kind of game week 12 when that blank happens. They capture the options, but it's a shame Diego Jota's a forward, because if he was a midfielder, I think that'd be a bit more exciting.
Yeah. Let's save that for the Liverpool bit. We're coming to Liverpool.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Final thoughts on the Arsenal bit. I
was going to say, mate, just going back to Martinelli, and you make a very, very valid point. He's just eye candy to watch right now as a football fan. As a neutral, I absolutely love watching him. He is just like he's like a little pocket dynamo. He's all over the pitch.
He's just honestly like I think I saw against Bodo as well. Like when he played there on Thursday, he just kind of like got the ball, went through the middle. Like it's just, his decision making has improved a lot already, and he's only going to get better. But his afterburners I can't think of many defenders in the league who can keep up with that. He just seems to be violating that space. As soon as there's a defender left on their own, he's just got a quick 1-2 with someone and he's in at the back. He's crossing it in. I think that's the thing about him. But Saka as well. They're not both just like taking shots. Like they're also creating a lot. So they're both very creative as well, which is, again, very exciting to see. So I think there's some comments as well in the chat that, maybe at Saka's price point, there are good alternatives at 8 million. Obviously, Foden's flying. I know we're going to talk about City as well. There are alternatives there. That is true. I just think that if you didn't want the triple attack, there is a world in which you could play without like an Andreas and have a fifth mid. You could just have you could have a Saka instead, and your Solanke could be a 4.4 million. Like, I know I'd rather have Saka and a 4.4 million striker than Solanke and Andreas, for example. Like, just when I compare the two, I'm like, do I want to be playing Solanke every week or Saka? I know which one I would rather.
I have to say, I'm quite jealous with you having that wild card because mine's not worked, and you've got this opportunity to really springboard back into the template, which, as you can see on the fixture difficulty on the screen now, just comes screaming back. But there's Arsenal, look, 5.3 between 13 and 16. So not amazing, but still about fourth best when it comes to matchups. So I'm not sure whether I'd triple up, if I'm honest with you.
Not on the attack, I don't think. But I think at Saliba's price point, like people who've had him from the start of the season at 4.5 and like 5 mil. Yeah, you can't sell him now when he's risen half a mil. And
no,
you've got to think for the rest of the season, he'll be probably the best 4.5 million asset you invested in.
Yeah, 100%, 100% there. So, right, okay. So I just thought I'd just put that up for some context.
Before you go on, in the background, Chris is here. He wants to skip over Liverpool, so I'm sure we won't talk too much about them.
Well, I mean, Chris, we love you dearly, but
well, we have to talk about them because obviously they've got a fixture in Gameweek 12, and like lots of us own De Bruyne. Like, there's plans to do maybe De Bruyne to Salah. There's currently Salah owners who've had him since Gameweek 8-9 Wildcard. They're thinking what to do. So I'm sure they will be discussed. But before that, I did upload something in the background, and this is why I wanted to apologize to Chris in advance. I just thought I'd share some of the atmosphere outside the Emirates, like a 10-second clip where I came out the stadium and there's a Tony Adams statue and there was like a mosh pit. So I just basically didn't go home for a while and just stood there jumping around with a bunch of yobs, like screaming chants.
So have we got to look at a load of yobbos now jumping around for 10
seconds? Yeah. So they're actually singing the Liverpool Ale, Ale, Ale.
Oh,
and
God.
Then they started singing about like, we won the league at Anfield, and they were going for it. Like they even alternated the Tottenham song on where like Scousers get battered everywhere they go, which is it's a bit rich because Liverpool have lost one league game before this in 2022, and that was against United. So I think Liverpool are a lot better than people give them credit for. Like, they're not just suddenly disappeared. They were very good against Arsenal. But here's the clips.
I'm going to put a Grimsby clip on before too long. Right, go.
Okay, Mike, enjoy this. This is for you. I think you're the only gooner I see in the chat.
Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go.
Don't worry, there's more. There's one more. Wait. Top of the tracking league.
I was trying to look for the village gonad.
Oh, no,
I was hoping someone might fall over in the background or something like that. You know me, I love misfortune. Anything like that, I always look on the fringes of these chats for something.
Just to see someone getting like just falling over.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sort of thing I would do. You see, that's why I always look for someone else.
All right, Chris. At least I didn't upload the video I recorded of Saka taking his penalty in those celebrations. So I thought
no, but then we'd get pinged for copyright. So then we'd have a problem.
It's only copyright if it's stolen from the broadcaster. This is my own live footage, right?
Right. Okay, you claim your own copyright.
I claim mine if they try to use it. But let's go on to Man City because obviously this is then the next big team.
This is an interesting one, right? Because I mean, looking at the fixture difficulty, right? Manchester City's fixture difficulty at Liverpool now is 2.6. I mean, that's getting up to the levels of playing a mid to bottom half team in the league. Oh, hang on a minute, they are.
Chris is gonna block you soon on Twitter, but someone did say earlier, I think it was Mike. He said, "Is your evil laugh now?"
Play the video again.
Liverpool?
Scousers get battered everywhere they go.
No, I think I am in shock.
Subscribers now. That's it. Sorry.
No, I think I'm in shock. Like Klopp came out, he gave a quote actually, and the quote was just like, "We are not in a title race." So it's like that was literally his quote. Yeah, he said like they're 14 points behind top. I had a look at kind of how far behind second place was in the last 5 seasons in the Prem, and normally once you drop like 14 points was like the minimum they could, like, basically I think it was the league winner and they dropped 14 points and then won the league. Then they dropped 15 points, 17 points. So like if Liverpool lose next weekend, they'll drop 17 points, and at that point, like, I don't see them reeling back in whoever the eventual champion is, which is probably Man City. So it is honestly like, it's crazy to me because I still think they're the second best team in the country.
They're just not firing.
What's happening?
They're just not firing for whatever reason. I say it goes back as far as the defense. Van Dijk is not the player he was, and it looks like, you know, maybe injuries and everything's played a part to it. But looking at this is not what you would expect when you look at a fixture difficulty for Liverpool against Manchester City. We've been doing this for a few years, right? And we've never seen anything. I've never seen anything like this. This is to me, yeah. I know it's at Anfield, and I know they'll lift the game, but I tell you what, City can do them.
Well, City, on that note, Foden coming in and doing what Martinelli did is a scary prospect. Like, you know, like anyone who doesn't own him, and like, I think Mr. Twister says in the chat last week he was considering buying a City asset and only playing 10 players in Gameweek 12. He obviously didn't go ahead with that, but he wishes he brought in Foden. And I feel like by Gameweek 13, Foden's going to be like the most transfer player in, which he was last week anyway, despite the upcoming blank. So I think maybe like sometimes we overplan. We put too much emphasis on these future blanks, and I feel like a lot of teams went into Gameweek 8 and 9 wildcards not loading up on the best players from the best teams because they didn't want to then have this problem in Gameweek 12.
I think, to be fair, Foden has changed as an asset in this season. To me, he's always been a player who does bits and has always been a player who might be rotated. Now he's hauling and not rotating. He's played every minute of the last 6 games.
Wow. You know, see, that is a difference there. I guess, like, we always knew he was one of Pep's favorites. Like, we knew that, but even still, like, we didn't think he'd be playing this many minutes, like, in a team that's famous for rotation. I just feel a bit gutted because obviously I went for De Bruyne a few weeks ago, and I kind of look at Foden bringing in the points every week, and again, I'm in that boat where it's like, surely I can't use a transfer like De Bruyne to Foden. Like, not like it's Liverpool away. Like, for all you know, they could like get a result, and it's like, am I really going to use my move to do De Bruyne to Foden?
Well, I mean, you know, just point of fact, look at the graphic here. We'll come back to the zonals in a minute, but let's look at the graphic. So I put a comparison of Foden against KDB up on the screen. Obviously, KDB, it's openly obvious now, KDB doesn't have that goal threat like he used to. 0.57 XG for Foden against 0.25. So double the XG for Foden over KDB. Double. Now, obviously, it flips when it comes to XA. KDB 0.67 per 90, Foden 0.4. But that's not weak, you know, and big chances, again, virtually double for Foden, 0.82 against 0.43. And here's one for you. Expected goal involvement, Foden slightly over KDB, but these numbers are a bit lower because they share the goals out, right? That's the thing which happens.
Yeah, they're getting so many goals. They're coming from everywhere on the pitch.
That's right. But I mean, this to me, well, it's not even a conversation anymore. It's not even a conversation, KDB or Foden. It's Foden all the way for me right now.
Yeah, like some people were talking about the triple attack, like KDB, Foden, Haaland after game week 13. But the way Cancelo is like the most nailed player in that back line, Walker's out till after the World Cup now. Like, I don't see a world in which I would go for him. Obviously, there was some official FPL panelists saying like sell him and like sell him and it's not worth it. But just like they did with Trent, the week they say it, Trent and Cancelo both get like 18, 17 points.
Yeah.
So I think Cancelo, the thing is, like, people at the beginning of the season were saying like, oh, he's got this new role. He's playing an inverted fullback. He's not getting up the pitch. I just feel like when you're looking at such small sample sizes, it's easy to jump to those conclusions. Like, he doesn't overnight go from being one of their best playmakers and creative players to just suddenly like, oh, he's now not good. And he was putting in the performances in Champions League. So I think people who were playing like Champions League fantasy, they were seeing he was getting like 18 pointers midweek. It just wasn't happening in FPL. And then now it obviously has, and he's rising again in price. So it's like, I was considering selling him during the blank, wildcard him back in, but I'm not willing to lose that.
And I'm pleased I didn't as well. It could be to do with Walker's injury, because is it Akanji playing now at right back?
So Akanji actually played at right back.
Yeah.
Which was again unusual because he played centre back in the middle of the week as well. I honestly thought that we would see Cancelo move to right back, but that didn't happen. I think again, I remember there was a lot of narrative about Cancelo gets more attacking returns from right back, and I think we spoke about this on one of the streams earlier this year, and we really investigated it with I think it was Nahal, and he's played many less games at right back, of course, but the ratio of the actual attacking returns he's got from left back are still better than they were at right back. So I'm not quite sure where this narrative has come from that Cancelo does better attacking wise from right back. Like,
it might be the fact that he plays what I think Gabe was in the chat. He might be able to confirm it if he is still drinking his beer, sat overlooking the Pacific Ocean, jammy git. But anyway, from my memory, Cancelo plays quite wide on the left, and he cuts, and he tends to cut in from the right, and that, I think that was the key difference. But the difference with this week was Akanji was holding and giving Cancelo basically just license to just bomb on, and he was very far forward. So if that carries on whilst Walker's injured, that again, for me, it's just a complete. He's going nowhere. You wouldn't pick Foden. He wouldn't pick KDB over Cancelo right now. Those numbers aren't for me. I'm a numbers man. I am. Those numbers are not good enough for the asset at that price when you've got someone like Foden, Cancelo, and obviously the juggernaut
man himself. Like, we don't even discuss him when he's 201% EO on a season.
Yeah, I mean,
like if you don't have him yet, I know one guy at work who doesn't have him yet, and he is going to buy him soon, but he definitely felt like he got away with it this week with just the 6 points. But
the trouble is, unless you get on Foden early,
I think that is going to be on by
13. I just think, to be honest with you, you talk about those three, everyone will have them.
I think
there's no point owning them
gone
again.
You have to have it. But I think it's like already gone. So like when you look at it, the masses move very quick. So I know you were talking about Maddison as a differential earlier. He was 65% EO this week. He went from 30% up to 65% just in 1 week, and he's still one of the most transferred in for next week. So when I look at Foden, right, he was 16%. He's being bought right now despite the blank. Come game week 13, when you add in all the wildcarders who are still left, plus everyone who uses their free transfer to get Foden, he's going to be similar. He's going to be like 60, 65% on the first week we all own him who don't have him already. So already we're going to be getting like kind of Martinelli, Jesus points out of him in terms of like actual gain. So I feel like, again, already it's too late. Like, I'm not saying don't get him. I'm just saying like you're not going to get that mad differential haul anymore. Like, you're now getting him because he looks great. He's playing more minutes. And if anything, he's going to destroy your season if you don't get him. I feel like we need to, like, it's like the people who got Maddison before Forest when he was 30%, they gained. I feel like I need to, it's what we were saying earlier, like, I need to identify like that player before everyone adopts them. And that's where like Saka was interesting to me because he's 7%. People are not going to be buying him ahead of the blank, unlike Foden. And when they come out the blank, a lot of them probably still won't be buying him because they'll be eyeing up Foden. So part of me is thinking, on a wildcard, can I get to Saka, Foden, Martinelli? Like, is that a way for me to differentiate? Do I get Saka before he then becomes 40, 50% if he continues like this? So I just feel like you got to watch the market and you got to get in early. It's like that kind of idea that this always happens with me with Reece James, right? So like, I don't have him when he gets his 18 pointers. I buy him because then he's like 80% owned, and then he gets 1, 0, 1, 2, and I'm like I can't win with that guy. So
He
it's a similar
screws
situation.
he screws me every season. Every season, without doubt, Reece James screws me over. It's just, I don't know. But just very quickly, just whilst we're just still on this Liverpool and City game, and we just jump back into the matchups. City's left is supported as well. So if Foden turns up on the left-hand side, for example, Mahrez starting to play a little bit, possibly will only be on the right, won't he? That's the only place he will be. So that then opens it up for a Foden or a Grealish. I expect it'll be Foden, even though Grealish's form's now much better. I'm sorry to say, but I see Liverpool getting maybe a shakalak in here.
So Chris, obviously, he says this without any bias. Like, he says he thinks it will be a massacre, and whoever Foden's playing against that replaces Trent, like, even if Trent is fit, like, it scares him. So it's just it is a terrifying game, I think.
Yeah, I'm not a Liverpool fan, of course, but saying that, surely it might be Milner. Milner will probably get torn one by Foden. Gomez, I'm not so sure. I mean, he's slightly, I think for me, maybe slightly a better, more defensive player than Trent. It might tighten them up, oddly enough. But then again, what will it do for them going forward? I mean, they're relying on him so much going forwards. I don't know. Again, we really need Gabe for this.
I'll definitely be supporting you guys, Chris, because like, I would bite your hand off if you can get a draw with these guys. Just take those 2 points from them, or just beat them. Finish their chance at an unbeaten season. Just beat them for us, please. Like, just keep my dream alive, please. Whatever.
Well, if I sell Salah, he'll definitely get a double return. So that'll be the guarantee. But I noticed that Salah's ownership in the top 10K is 10% now.
10 to 20%,
there's the opposite. There's me sitting there. Oh, I think I'm ahead of the curve keeping Salah, and now he's dropped 0.2 million.
12.7 million. You don't see assets like that really drop 0.3 million. Normally, FPL Towers really protects them from going below the starting price. So that's quite telling in terms of how
they must have released the block.
Yeah. So, like, you know what? Just be done with it.
Yeah.
No, I do think Liverpool are still a great team. As I said, they've only lost in the league twice in 2022. Once against United earlier this season, and once against Arsenal. For all the comments about them being in decline, I know they're an aging squad, but they can turn up. Obviously, Diaz has looked like one of their better attackers, so him being out isn't ideal. Trent being out probably isn't ideal. There are some issues, don't get me wrong, but on their day, like, Liverpool will go toe-to-toe with City, and I almost hope that loss to Arsenal will, like, fire them up. Like, maybe that's what they need.
They need to light a fire up under them for sure. But I mean, I'm not sure this is the week personally. I mean, even Salah's zonal matchups only 3.7. That's very telling.
He's normally like 5 every week, right?
That's very telling. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's keep going because I want to take a quick look at the remaining matchups, and we'll literally just flick through these because, again, I want to get to a little bit of sort of like game week 13 chit chat about midfielders and forwards, because we've got a couple of dilemmas. We've already been speaking about the midfield dilemma. We've also got a bit of a Mitrovic dilemma potentially on our hands as well. So I want to just have a look at that. So very quickly, the remaining matchups. Who's got the best matchups? Well, Spurs have the best matchup this week against Everton with a flagged Harry Kane. But is that just a knock?
See that. Yeah, I think that's just a knock. We'll see if he's in the squad in the Champions League. Let's take it from there. But Kane, in fact, I think he's pretty much returned in nearly every game this season, apart from like the beginning. He's also looking like a very good potential asset to hold, I think, in the long term as well, when you look at the longer range FDR. But I was kind of looking this week at a Haaland or Jesus to Kane move, but that required like downgrading Cancelo to get that money, so that's not happening. Haaland keeps raising. So my only alternative to get there is to sell De Bruyne to Son. But then after seeing Liverpool and those injuries and what happened with Arsenal, I'm kind of thinking like last time De Bruyne played them, he played the full 90 as well. So it's like, again, let's see Champions League. But if De Bruyne's on the bench, can you sell him?
I do think, though, that is the sort of move I would consider right now, given the fact we've got a very, very good matchup coming up against Everton. That, to me, I don't mind that, actually.
As like a 1 free transfer and then Wildcard next week in Gameweek 13.
Yeah, and we've just said probably we won't be keeping KDB long term anyway, because I think that City template's possibly going to become absolutely rock solid. So, Son, very lowly owned against Everton. I mean, even, could end up playing up top as well if Kane's out.
Yeah, that's true. Like, if we start to see news that Kane isn't going to start and stuff, I do think that makes them worse overall, though. So,
yeah, it does. It takes a bit. And Kulusevski's he was injured as well. He ended up him and Richarlison.
Yeah, I think Spurs might persist with this new formation with the 3-5-2, where they sacrifice the third attacker for like some more midfield control, because I think they were struggling to control games in the midfield. I think Bentancur and Højbjerg were kind of just like looking to get the ball wide as quickly as they could. Like Spurs were just, their areas of control in the midfield was non-existent when I spoke to the above average lads, Baker and Adam. So I do think this new midfield 5 formation is going to potentially be something they stick with, just to be a bit more solid. And it did work for them last week. So, like, obviously, they created a lot more chances. It just kind of depends who's fit in that front line. In terms of Spurs, what do you think, like, for Perisic owners? Obviously, I see a lot of people who own him still, and they're, like, considering to get off when they can. This probably isn't the fixture to move off him, is it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you look at the zonal matchups, you can see that they're at 4 both sides, but I mean, it's fairly balanced. So what we normally look for is for one side to possibly look like that's where that's going to be targetable. But here it just looks like Everton are just targetable at home. Although they have tightened up. To be fair to Everton, they are tightening up a bit. But I still think Spurs will have too much for them here. And I think that matchup is very much set for a possible double return for someone like Perisic, yeah. But if he plays, of course. The Doherty played right side as well, didn't he?
Yeah, after all the comments about him.
After all the comments, yeah.
Yeah, we got Booner in the house as well saying, get rid of Perisic. Like, I just feel like, depending on who plays in the Champions League, I just can't get rid of, like, I guess it's a sunk cost fallacy at this point where it's like, you can't get rid of him, but then like he's just going to keep getting these 1 point cameos and play all the hard games and be rested in the easy games.
I'll tell you what, Boona nearly had me. I nearly fell off my bloody chair when Boona posted on the just pre-deadline. The deadline had already gone. Honestly, I saw it. I was out. Had gone out. I was out with an old work. I just went, he said, "Are you all right?" I said, "Oh, it's all right. It's just some wankers just trolled me on Twitter."
I thought Rogers got sacked earlier today. Someone was sending it to me. Yeah, someone was sending it to me saying Rogers got sacked. I was like, "Oh yeah, it makes sense. Like he's bottom of the league. Yeah, he knows how to time it."
Deadline's gone. I was like,
"What?" That one was definitely one of the best yet. But I feel like there's very few people left who can still see his tweets, but then people keep falling for them. So,
well, there you go. You see, I've not blocked him or muted him because as I say, I nearly fell off my chair in a restaurant. But anyway, there we go.
I find it too funny. Yeah, I want to see the reactions and the blocks. It's too much.
Yeah. Booner saying, I'll put him on the screen here, but Sessendorf played brilliantly against Brighton. Conte will be playing Emerson against Frankfurt this week, and lol. Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's see. What else have we got?
Who else? Yeah, so we've got United, Newcastle. Anthony's got 3 and 3. Yeah. What do we think about United assets?
I mean, look, I looked at them longer term. The matchups going further out are not great. I think it's. Let me just show you that. Yeah, they're okay, but they're not at the level of, let's say, 3.6 out, further out. Okay, but yeah, I mean they've got Newcastle, then Spurs, Chelsea, West Ham, Villa, Fulham. So I mean
that doesn't away. The next 3 or 4 do not sound great.
No,
maybe the last 2 before the World Cup, like there could be a case if they've done well in these harder fixtures by then. But
I looked, yeah, I mean, I had a look at Rashford, among others. His returns are going up, but I just don't think so at this moment in time. Brentford against Brighton, slight 1.5. Brighton against Brentford, 1.4. Possibly goals in that.
Trossard is going to be having fun
again, yes. And I'll tell you what, and we'll get to this in a minute, but game week 12, Trossard could be right in our discussions here because he's playing Forest. He's playing Forest.
Oh, no. Like, it just feels like that Forest defense are ripe for the taking.
Is that, well, unless it's another Duffy-esque.
Unless it's Aston Villa, yeah.
Unless it's another Duffy-esque captaincy where it goes to shit.
Yeah, that was a good memory in FPL, that double game week, the infamous double game week.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, look, Brighton and Brentford both, I think, assets, they shouldn't be going anywhere this week for sure. And both of them, and Tony's not going anywhere this week on the back of that matchup either. So that's fine.
Fulham game, obviously, against Bournemouth, by the way, as well.
Yeah, 1.4, but that's going to be very much dependent on Mitrovic, I think.
That's what I mean. I feel like we'll talk about Mitrovic in a second. I'll let you do zonals about the other game, but yeah, well, let's talk about Mitrovic in a moment.
Yeah, but I mean, just very quickly, defensively, Spurs have the best matchup against Everton, then Chelsea, so 1.5, then Chelsea 1.4, and then Wolves at 1.2 home against Forest. Again, these defensive matchups are not as solid as the attacking matchups, and that is becoming a real factor now. And I think there was how many clean sheets? Was it 3 last week?
Yeah, they're not really happening.
No. So there we go. So I think, again, attack over defense there. Zonals, well, Arsenal Central. Surprise, surprise. That's now becoming the new go-to match.
That's like the new Liverpool, right?
It is. It's the new Liverpool, right? Interestingly, Newcastle centre against Manchester United.
Callum Wilson. He is someone I'm considering as like a Jesus replacement in
Callum Wilson. Trollum Wilson.
No, I do like Wilson. I think that in terms of like Mitrovic, so that's one to keep an eye on then, because this seems like a relevant note, is the quote that came out recently was kind of like, oh, we thought he'd be okay for the weekend. Then he felt the injuries, like it's the same injuries before. And it was like, we have to assess him. We need to be careful. It was a bit cagey, and it wasn't the kind of wording you want to hear. So part of me now worries that like it was meant to be quite short term, and he'd definitely be back for Bournemouth and maybe be on the bench last weekend. He didn't make the squad. We're going to wait for the next presser, but if it's sounding like he's going to be out this week as well, like, do you just go and get the kind of the Wilson match now? Like, do you get it? Like,
I've got 2 free transfers, and I'll tell you what, if I get a sniff at Mitrovic in start, and he's gone.
And he was mass sold last week. So like, even this week, he had like 20% EO. So he was like a differential for me. So it's not like selling him is going to hurt your rank. Like, yes, okay, he might play a game and haul, and like you feel like, oh damn, I missed like some points there, but he's not going to kill you. Whereas the players that he's being replaced by, they are all creeping up in ownership, while we have a dud.
That's right.
Starting 11 that doesn't play potentially.
That's right.
Mr. Twister did Mitro to Wilson last week. That's a nice move.
Good move. I mean, the problem is I probably want to go into game week 12 with 2 free transfers, because I just expect there might be some carnage there. You only need to pick one injury up, and all of a sudden you're down with 10 men and taking a hit. So I'd prefer to, or Maddison could get a booking. Is he on 4 bookings now?
Yeah, I'm already looking at that. So obviously he could get a booking. If Jesus gets a booking against Leeds, he's not playing until game week 14. So it's like, there are definitely some assets that could.
It might be a good week to actually make a move, but don't necessarily try and force it, which is what I said earlier, which is what I've been saying again. How many times have I come unstuck by forcing it over the last few seasons? So no, for me, I think it might be a one move. If Mitrovic is fit, then it might even make me look at Salah.
He would be the potential next one on the chopping block, despite the game week 12 captaincy fixture.
Well, he won't be captaining game week 12 at this rate, not the way he's playing. But anyway, let's keep going. So it said zonals, Arsenal 5.2, Newcastle 4.8, Brighton Centre 4.5. Brighton Centre 4.5 against Brentford. But Brentford just now are pretty poor defensively. They are conceding a load of goals. Maybe not so much at home, though. So that might be a little bit, but who knows? I'd have to check that out a bit more. I didn't have a chance. Chelsea 4.5. Chelsea's left 4.5 as well. And headers, well, it jumps off the page, pardon the pun, but Harry Kane, if indeed he plays.
Yeah, that's another thing I looked at, but I can't get there in a -4. I looked at Mitrovic to Kane.
Nah, me too. But that would mean I'd have to do
I'd
something.
do De Bruyne all the way down, but then I realized I can't even do De Bruyne all the way down because it's still not enough money. So it would have to be Jesus. Had Jesus got a yellow against Liverpool, that would have been such an easy move for me. Jesus straight to Kane. Oh, God. And then like KD beats Foden, bench Foden during the blank. Fuck's sake. Why can't these guys make it easy for me and just force my hand with this guy?
Why can't they do things? Long range fixture difficulties and things, just in case you're obviously thinking, I've already mentioned this. The template's coming screaming back in 13. If you're holding your wild card, well done. Ballsed it up like me. But anyway, there we go. It is what it is. Manchester City still top going forward, 16.3 attack, miles ahead of Liverpool in second, 9.8. And then we've got Spurs at 6.7, and then we've got Arsenal and West Ham, 5.3 and 5.1. So West Ham's fixtures are starting to turn, and it looks like they've got, for example, they've got Southampton away. I don't hate that. Liverpool away, I don't hate that. Bournemouth at home, I like that a lot. Manchester United away, then Crystal Palace at home, who are hemorrhaging goals right now, away from home particularly, or hemorrhaging chances, I should say, and Leicester. I actually think there's 3 potential hauls there, Bournemouth, Palace and Leicester.
And you got obviously the news that Bowen did take that penalty in the league as well, so you kind of start to think to yourself, like, like something like, say, Maddison gets that 5th yellow next week, and maybe Bowen's the player in Game Week 12 you go for. There is Trossard as well. Obviously, you mentioned it's a great game.
After all, he's only playing Liverpool away. That's nothing, is it, these days? That's fine. It's a decent matchup.
Why not? Yeah. No, but I think the games after those, you say that Bournemouth, United, Palace, Leicester going into the World Cup, that's not so bad. The United game's not ideal, but Bournemouth, Palace, and Leicester, you would think West Ham will be well up for those games.
Yeah. But defensively, it still looks like attack over defense, because we've got City at 6.7, Spurs at 6.3, and that's about it. And then we're down to the 3s in West Ham, 2s in Arsenal. There's just nothing really there with respect to defensive. To me, it just looks like it's so template. And again, we're just buzzing around 100, 200, 300 grand or 300,000 or whatever it is.
Maybe you are. I'm like, they're floating a $500,000.
All right. Well, anyway, but it doesn't matter. But we're still floating around outside the top 100,000. And, kudos to people like Ross Raptor, who's up in about 20K or something. Is he higher than that?
Top
maybe
100.
Is he?
Yeah.
Top 100 now.
Yeah.
Seriously, I didn't see that. I know.
Yeah,
I knew
Foden went flying up. I did see a very good tweet though, which said that it's like 50 points between top 50K and top 1 million. So for those at top 1 million, that is very encouraging. That's one good chip use on the double game week. For those at 50K, that's fucking terrifying. Like you could still finish 7 digits, mate. So you guys with your lofty ranks is still not settled yet. The points are very tight with the Haaland perma cap.
So that's the problem, though. They'll all stay super template now rather than trying to do it, and then that'll make it even harder for us. But no, to be honest with you, there's tons of time to go. There's no panic. As I say, for me, just going back to what I said at the outset, I can't nail these differentials this year, and that's been the biggest challenge. And this is why this next topic has been quite eye-opening for me. I've actually, for the first time in a few weeks, I've managed to do a bit of research. It's not very
just before you go on that, while you've got this on the screen, let's answer Harry's question about best 4.5 million goalkeeper, because he's considering taking Pope out. He's got the triple Newcastle defense at the moment, so he could free up some funds. I know Gator was 4.5. He's someone I'm looking at on my Gameweek 13 wildcard. This long-range defensive FDR, it's not that great defensively for Palace, is it?
No, it's not. And to be honest with you, I'm on Pickford, and I think that actually paints a decent picture for him.
I'm just looking at that. Yeah, that's not as... Yeah, that's...
Oh, no, it's done 0.4. No, it's not. Sorry. No, it's still slightly positive. No, slightly, but nothing much in it. But saying that, it's always Everton, right?
I just feel like for me, like, let me see Brighton, because obviously Sanchez is around, but again, like, not great.
No.
I just feel like Gator, like, I think the argument against him originally was this idea that he could be like phantomly benched because they have two other good goalkeepers. It happened a bit last season too. On top of that, Gahey is 4.3 million. Potentially, you're going to have him in your defense. Therefore, like, do you want Gator? I think in your situation with 3 Newcastle players and the amount of money you could free up, which is probably like over $500,000, maybe even 0.7 mil, I find it hard to see really many beyond Gator, just because I know the FDR says these games are tough, but when you look at them on paper, you know, Leicester away, Wolves home, Everton away, Southampton home, West Ham away, Forest away, like, I could see like 2-3 clean sheets there. Like, I don't doubt it.
I really don't agree with you.
You definitely think Palace can't do it?
I would offload Gay in a heartbeat. I would offload him in a heartbeat. They are.
Yeah, but the question is, who are you buying at 4.5?
Anyone.
No, strategically, you're not going to get Dean Henderson, are you? Like, but you're not going to get Dean Henderson at 4.5, are you? So it's not like there's many options at that price, but they're all promoted.
I mean, look, I look at this. Palace are awful away from home. Everton have got Palace in. This is one reason I was
Palace
thinking
have 4 away games between this week and then.
Yeah, and Everton, they've got 4 away games as well. Spurs, Newcastle aren't good. Palace is okay. Fulham away is probably tough. Leicester at home is okay. Bournemouth away, they might be all right. There might be a couple of clean sheets. And none of these are very good. None are very good. It's just the fact I'm quite used to.
How much is Fabianski?
Is he 5?
He could be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Brighton here, they have Brentford away, Forest home. There's obviously City away and Chelsea home is not good, but Wolves away and Villa home. So 4 of the 6 again for Brighton, like for Sanchez, Mr. Twist saying like they are okay. I've had Sanchez since game week 1. I will not have him on the wild card. Like, nothing will convince me to keep. Like, there's just no fucking chance. So Harry mentions Neto from Bournemouth. I do think Bournemouth have gone a little bit under the radar. I do wonder if maybe those points are now already gone. They've actually got more home clean sheets than the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, City. I think like Bournemouth's home clean sheets this season, and you know they're undefeated under the new manager. So what about them? Like, obviously the FDR here doesn't look good, but
I mean, for me, he's no worse than any of the others. Possibly, I see possibly a clean sheet against Southampton and Everton, but that's it.
Yeah, I guess Spurs, West Ham, Leeds. I can see them conceding in those.
Away from home, they're getting shakalaked.
I just think basically we're in this situation now where
save points could get some save points away from home if they don't get completely tanked. But what tends to happen is these teams are getting completely tanked, right? And then they're getting 0.
So I guess the only thing I would say is, and keep an eye on this, is because this is a bit of a big one to claim, but can you really go that wrong for Kepa from Chelsea at 4.4 million if he's starting? Like 4.4 million for a Chelsea goalkeeper if he's starting. He's started a couple games now.
No problem. Away at Brentford, okay. Home against Manchester United, all right. Away Brighton, home Arsenal, away Newcastle. Fixtures aren't great, but yeah, I'm all right with that.
But at least it's like a top 16 for 4.5 million.
I mean, if you've got that swamp donkey Ward sat on your bench, then
he's there ready to come on just in case for when the Kepa gets dropped. I would look into the Mendy situation and what's going on there, what happens midweek, presses. But yeah, if none of them are inspiring you, like basically none of those keepers at 4.5 million less are really doing much. I just feel like we're going to have to limp through till game week 16 and then
we are.
reassess when we'll overhaul our teams.
I mean, I would say it should only matter about 10 points, but if you haven't had a single goalkeeping return, all season, then you start to get a bit twitchy. It's very nice to get one. That's what I was thinking about Pickford. I might get a couple of blanks, but then I'll get a 10. Or something like that, because he has that habit of pulling a double-figure return out the hat.
To be fair to you, there is Newcastle away for Pickford, Palace home, Fulham away, Leicester home, Bournemouth.
Yeah, I quite like. I mean, they don't look bad. I'm quite happy with them, but I mean, the trouble is Everton away from home are not great. That's the problem. Everton at home are a different beast completely.
It's essentially what you were saying. There's like so few clean sheets at the moment outside of like City and some of the bigger teams, but yeah, I think you can't go wrong with Neto from Bournemouth. Like, basically, it's very slim pickings. Definitely tune in next week not next week, game week 13, because when I'll be on Wildcard, I'm sure I'll do like a whole assessment of like every
We should do some roast my team. We can roast your team. I'll quite enjoy that.
Yeah, those ones are always quite good, aren't they? Okay, cool. Let's go to this next section, as you say, where you've done some research.
So, I mean, excuse the formatting, because it looked perfectly good on my screen, but the moment I transfer it onto the bloody onto the platform, it doesn't. But anyway, look, what I've done is I've pulled out some data on midfielders from from Martinelli upwards. So Martinelli's there at 6.6, Trossard 6.8. Then we've obviously got Zaha. And then we've got 3 around the 8 million. We've got Bowen 8.1, Foden 8.2, and Maddison 8.2. And basically, the first one is the matchup for game week 12. And you'll see that Trossard, so if you're looking for a player for game week 12, and maybe having a bit of a punt prior to wildcarding like you, Nima, Trossard jumps off the page. Very, very good fixture difficulty. And it's also top for big chances, look, per 90. 1.03 out of that section. And not just top it, but tops it by a distance, actually.
You know me and my love of quotes and presses. He came out and said the new managers told him, like, I need you to be scoring a lot of goals for me. So then he goes and scores a hat-trick, right? So he took that on board quite quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, one to watch.
It's all looking very positive for someone like Trossard, right? At that price point, again, very jealous if you're already on him, because I'd love to get to him, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to straight away, which is a shame. Martinelli, we come to Martinelli now, 6.6. Now, his fixture difficulty long range further out looks pretty good, 5.3, but he's nowhere near Foden. Look, Foden's fixture difficulty blows everybody else off the scale when it comes to 16.3. It's ridiculous. So, Martinelli 5.3, Bowen 5.1, and then you've got the two I. They got Trossard, the two I own, Zaha and Maddison, are both sells.
I have both. Yeah, my God, I bought them both last week. Can't believe it.
Again, it's just game week matchup. It's just game week 12. Zaha to Trossard looks okay if I've no pain.
The thing is, Palace has the best attacking FDR, I think. Obviously not on your FDR, but on most FDRs, he has the best attacking FDR till the World Cup. It's I don't know if it's a sunk cost fallacy.
But Zaha hasn't had a single big chance in the last 6 games. Not a single big chance.
He hasn't, but he is on penalties.
Well, yeah, okay.
And, we saw how Bowen went from blanking all season to getting his penalty goal.
True, but I mean, that's all, right? That's all you can really say positive about him right now for me.
Just the penalties, yeah. Well, he's nailed on, right? And
nailed.
But then on this page, I think most of these players are pretty nailed on. Who's being compared to Eze is a good shout, who Harry mentioned. So he obviously
I ain't going
much
there.
cheaper than Zaha, but as a Zaha owner, there's no chance I'm going to now also go that way.
No, but no, going to Martinelli, XG again. We've already looked at his stats, but his XA he tops XA out of these per 90 at 0.47. And Martinelli's numbers are quite nice. Thank you very much. He should be going nowhere in people's. I just think he's very, very obvious. Maddison, the only thing going for him is the fact that he has the most involvement, expected goal involvement out of them all. But that's because Leicester don't score many.
Yeah, no. So I think the one thing about Maddison is like this calendar year, 2022, I think it's like the last 30 game weeks or something. He has like some of the highest goals assist numbers in the league. So he doesn't have great underlying numbers. Like I remember looking at it and like they were worse than Zaha's, but he seems to overperform them. And it's not a surprise. Like when you watch them from an eye test perspective, he is pivotal to everything. Like if Leicester are going to score, as you say, and I guess this XGI shows it,
he's going to score a worldie. But he's going to score a worldie because look at his shots in the box. It's 4 times lower than Foden, nearly. You know what I mean?
With Maddison, the problem is Leicester just looks so bad. Honestly,
they are.
They did great against Forest, and like we've just said how bad Forest are. And they went to Bournemouth, who's undefeated under their new manager, and they couldn't do it.
I could argue Barton Town in the North East Counties League could do all right against Forest right now.
That's what I mean. So I think we all got a bit carried away, and that Maddison haul against Forest led to like an increase of 30 to 65% EO for Maddison.
But yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, it just, to me, the numbers don't support Maddison. The matchups don't support him. His involvement doesn't support him. Yes, you're right. He's always got that worldie in his pocket or that ability to assist somebody else. But as you say, numbers don't support him. He will be leaving my team soon.
He'll be leaving on Wildcard in Game Week 13 for me. But if he can do me a favor and get a yellow card in Game Week 11 so I can just sell him for Trossard.
Well, there is that. That'd be great. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, there is that. Then we get on to Foden. Then we get on to Foden, 8.2 million. So the same price as Maddison. Fixture difficulty blows him out the water. XG blows him out the water. XA is higher. This is all compared to Maddison. Big chances 4 times as high. Less involvement. Shots in the box 4 times as high, and shots on target about 1.84 against 1.42. Top again for shots in the box, shots on target. If that isn't a no-brainer, I don't know what is. It's a complete no-brainer now.
Yeah, I think everyone who kind of avoided him because of this blank, we're definitely living with regret now.
Damn! I had him at the start of the season, sold him.
And he was playing then as well. He just wasn't returning the same way.
He just wasn't returning. He was doing what Foden had done in the past. And I was very happy with him. He got a double return and then got subbed, didn't he? And I think that spooked me. I think that spooked me, to be honest. I thought, because then I looked at Diaz, and I think I went Foden to Diaz, if I remember, and then I offloaded him as well. But yeah, that was the challenge. That was the problem. I think that half-time substitution spooked me. There we go. Just shows blame Pep. If in doubt, blame Pep. Bowen, fixture difficulty is okay for 13 to 16 at 5.1, third best. Doesn't really top anything, but again, he's doing bits. The fixture difficulty does draw me a little bit towards him going forwards, but he is just that bit more expensive. So that's where I am with that. But look, what I want to do is I want to do something different now. And there we go. Here we go. Now let's.
You had to bring Salah in.
We have to bring Salah into the equation, right? And he tops it. He tops it for price.
The only thing he tops here.
You said last night. You've highlighted Salah's price as yet because I'm going to have a rant. His numbers are He's not certainly against these players, right? No way, not even close to being top. Okay, not even close. I don't know what happens to some of them. Some of them have disappeared off the list because this bloody formatting, I'm afraid. But yeah, he's just not there. He's just nowhere to be seen. And then we look at XI per million, which I wanted to just look at. And because I'll have to talk about it on my screen, unfortunately, because formatting's gone all to tits. But anyway, that's what happens at 6 o'clock in the morning. XI per million, Martinelli tops at 0.13. So that's expected goals and expected assists added together. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, Martinelli tops it at 0.13. Then Foden at 0.12. Trossard at 0.1. Saka at 0.09, Bowen at 0.07, Zaha at 0.06, Salah at 0.06.
Well, what's your thoughts on like fixtures bringing form though? So
yeah,
we talked about Bowen having fixtures going for him. Like Salah has double Bowen's fixtures, right?
Yeah, I have nothing to. Just going back to this other one, whilst we're talking about Salah, I have nothing to support him right now. Nothing. Numbers wise, nothing supports him.
It is a very easy De Bruyne to Salah move in Gameweek 12, though.
It is, and but are people going to go that way? I mean, are people just going to herd themselves towards him? I don't know. Personally, I would be probably more likely.
If he scores a hat trick against City,
he could easily do it.
150% EO in Gameweek 12. So the 1 week he returns, we still won't get fuck all from him anyway.
Frightens the living daylights, exactly. But you still get a bit, but it frightens the living daylights out of it for me. But I just hate it. I just hate it. He says he tops matchups 13-16. Yeah, he does.
He's like literally in my wildcard. Like I have no plan of going otherwise.
I mean, look, I'm not.
The only way I would go without him is if I went for the Haaland Kane double premium. I don't buy this idea of one premium. Yes. If I can have Kane as my second premium and bring in Foden instead of like a De Bruyne or Salah, if I'm thinking Foden can match and outscore at the 4 million less, 5 million less even compared to Salah and KDB, then that's a route where I was saying to you earlier, like I could see myself in a world where I had Haaland, Kane, a dead third striker, and then like Foden, Saka, Martinelli, one of like Maddison, Zaha, Trossard, Bowen. I could just go deep with that midfield 5 and get all of these assets where it's hard to pick between them.
Yeah, I know. Just do it right. Just to finish this section off, put them in order. How would you?
From these 5? 6 even. I would. So Martinelli, I just think is number 1 for me. Like it's like. But I feel like he's just a given. Like if he's not in your team, I don't understand what you're playing. But Trossard is very exciting. But I'm a fixtures guy, and those fixtures between 13 to 16 aren't great. Like Gameweek 12 is great.
Yeah.
So he could be a cheeky pump for me, like just for that one Gameweek pre-wildcard. I think if you've got a wildcard in 13, Trossard's a nice shout.
Yeah,
and then kind of outside of that, I think it's Martinelli and Foden for me are the two at the top, but like way at the top.
And Saka's dropped off the list as well here, but he's there, but he doesn't top anything, by the way. So Saka's kicking around as well, but we've already looked at Saka's numbers, haven't we?
Yeah, so I think Martinelli and Foden, like I'd probably say Foden first overall, like in terms of like priority, but that's because most people already have Martinelli. In terms of then going down that list, I don't know. I still feel like at least for the next couple, I would rather Maddison than Bowen, and I think the immediate fixtures reflect that. But then eventually that switch could be quite nice, like Maddison to Bowen. But again, like, are you going to do that when you want to probably do Maddison to Foden? So Bowen just kind of falls down the priority order a bit there. Maddison's just for the next few. Like I always got him for these 3-4 fixtures. So like come game week 13, like he's someone I'd be looking to move on. I do think that Zaha's matchups are much better than this FDR shows attacking wise going forward for the World Cup stretch. So I would actually put Zaha personally here above both Maddison and Bowen over that period, even though Bowen has the good fixtures. I will put my neck on the line and say like Foden, Martinelli, Trossard, Zaha, Bowen, and then Maddison in that period, 13 to 16.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just saying, as a Zaha owner, and I don't know whether that's just me just being a bit biased, but I just look at it that he's just not doing, the numbers don't support him and he's not really doing it. And of course, me, I'm a numbers man, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So,
he has Leicester away and Wolves at home. And I think Palace can give those two teams a game. And then he's got Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Forest. Like every single one of those games seems better to me than most of these players' fixtures. I just feel like when I buy a player, it's always for like a minimum of a 3 game week stretch, and that's what I've done with Zaha here. And I actually compared using the player comparison on Hub for Zaha and Maddison, and like Zaha blew Maddison out of the water underlying numbers wise. So I still think he's the better pick. And I do think that because I got him for a 3 game week stretch, obviously he's still got game week 11 and 12 to go. I'm okay with my player blanking in one fixture. Like I didn't buy him just for the Leeds game. So long as he gets what I consider a healthy return in those 3 fixtures I got him for pre-wildcard, he could then remain on the wildcard in week 13, just because I do think those fixtures from 13 is Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Forest. Like, I just think for a team like Palace, those are all good fixtures. Like, any one of those, they could turn up. So it's like, I just think at 7.4 million.
No, like, I mean, look, I own him. I'm not saying I think I'd probably sell Maddison before Zaha, just given the price, right? I think Maddison's an obvious
especially one to get to Foden, right? Like,
but I do like the look of some of the, like I say, Foden is just a complete no-brainer to bring in, and then it's a case of deciding what to do for that extra Arsenal asset for me. But yeah, I mean, I'm afraid I'm behind the 8 ball. There's the proper format, by the way, now on the screen. I've just changed.
I see that, yeah.
I've just wiped out the file share and put that and just shared my screen instead, because that's what it was. It wasn't anything to do with what I'd done. It was just that. Let's move on to there's the Salah numbers, so you can see there again. You can see it overall. Yeah, and let's go to the next section very quickly. A Mitro fix. Do we need to fix Mitrovic? We might, but if we do, who's the best option? And I think this is key. So if you're talking about a matchup for game week 12, it's Welbeck prior to Wilson. Those two stand out with respect to matchups. So we've got Wilson, Jesus, Solanke, Scamacca, Tony, Welbeck, and Bamford, just for people who are listening. So matchup-wise, Welbeck and Wilson. Matchups 13 to 16. Jesus comes back into the right to the top, as we've already said. And then we've got Scamacca at 5.1, Nima. Now, I mentioned him last week. He started again. Mm-hmm. I'm not a West. I don't know enough about West Ham, but I'm going to have to keep an eye on this. But for me, at 6.7 million, if he's in favour, I don't hate it. I don't hate him. His numbers
I think he was wanted by a lot of teams. Like Arsenal were linked to him. Other top European clubs wanted him. He is an exciting player. And obviously, like Antonio is like the old guard of this team. Like people forget that Antonio's been there for a lifetime at West Ham.
Yeah,
I remember watching Antonio play right back for West Ham. He's played every fucking position on the pitch for that team. Goalkeeper, honestly, like he's literally worked his way through the whole bloody lineup, every position possible. I do feel that with these recent starts for Scamacca, like when I spoke to West Ham fans at the start of the season, they always said like, "Oh no, Scamacca won't start straight away," but like it's kind of like a changing of the guards moment. Like it is like they didn't buy him for that price to not use him as a starter long term. Like he's the future of the club in the striker position. So although the rotation, like I know Mr. Twist saying like it is something to worry about.
I agree.
Like compared to the others, right, where you got the likes of Jesus and even Solanke, Wilson, Tony, they're all nailed.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that I guess Scamacca, it's a bit of a worry for him there. But let's see what happens in what's going through these next few games, because again, like Mitrovic might be fine for Bournemouth, we might not need the replacement. Equally, Mitrovic, we might find out, is crocked, and every week we get told he's going to be back next week, and it keeps going and going and going. It's kind of what happened with Calvert-Lewin and Bamford last few seasons, where they were always about to come back and they just never did. And that's what kind of concerned me about the quotes about Mitrovic, the way it was explained, because it was like a recurrence of the same injury. During the internationals, he had that leg iced up. That same leg was flared up when he got subbed early. Then he wasn't in the squad. Like the quotes are not very... They're very vague, and that doesn't seem good to me. So I'd love him to play against Bournemouth this week. Obviously, I've got him, but if he's not playing, like obviously we said the Brighton fixtures are great for 12. I think if you've got a wild card in game week 13, like Welbeck isn't that bad a shout. I don't think. Like just from a fixtures perspective,
fixtures stand out, numbers don't. That's
like generally, I think he's poor and like value for money wise, like he's poor, but he'd be a very short term. I think Scamacca would be like the long term pick. He has obviously a better longer range FDR, but you'd have to maybe take a few like rotational moments on the chin. Solanke's not for me. Like that long-term FDR is terrible as well. So like he's not the one. I guess there are some people out there who did sell Jesus on Wildcard in 8 or 9. So maybe Mitrovic is your way back to Jesus, right? Yes, maybe that's the plan. Like maybe that's the long-term way back to Jesus. I think if I had to pick from these guys, like I really like Wilson, to be honest with you. He'd be the one that I would go for, I think, personally. Like the others are like exciting punts because we've not had Welbeck or Skamaka, and like it's another difference, another new. It's just going to be another fucking Emmanuel Dennis without Weghorst. Like I just don't want to go. Like Wilson's proven it over the years. Like when he is fit and starts, like the guy scores. Like he's a good player.
I mean, it's Trollum, isn't it? You've seen Lord of the Rings. That's him. Trollum. No, that's Gollum. Anyway, near enough. But look, I mean, for me, Wilson's numbers are good. They don't smash everybody out there. He would have been top for XG if it had not been for Paddy Bamford, who is just all of a sudden sneaking back into them. And I put him in, just threw him in, just from the perspective he's only 7.3 million now, only. So he's dropped a long way. But I mean, I'm not saying he's an asset, an option right now, but I'm just throwing him in just for reference.
Keep an eye on him,
Keep an eye on him. But yeah, Wilson would sit there, and if Bamford wasn't there, he'd have been top for XG and for big chances, right? So I completely agree with you. It's Callum Wilson. If you were needing to do something, if he plays, you know, if you can get to game week 13 and Jesus doesn't pick a yellow card up, he looks very obvious as well. As for the rest, Tony, ultimately I'm going to sell him. Welbeck, I find him boring. Skamaka, like you say, rotation risk, and Solanke, well, even a broken watch is right twice a day.
I just feel like Skamaka, if you felt confident, like I'd speak to some more West Hammers, but if you felt confident that it is now his space and that kind of changing of the guard has happened, he very quickly sneaks up close to the top of this list.
He does. Yeah, he does, and that's why I'm keeping an eye on him. But I want to just put this onto the thing. There's another player who we're all ignoring.
Yeah. Well, with Diaz out, obviously there's one less potential risk. What will be interesting for me is I would keep an eye on Liverpool in the midweek. Yeah. If they stick to this new formation with the 4 attackers on the pitch, there is space for Firmino. His goal against Arsenal was very well taken. If they go back to the 4-3-3, I don't know if I can stomach Firmino.
No, I know. I'm the same. And I look at this and I see he's out of this lot. But anyway, he's top
for basically everything.
He's top for XG at 0.8. He's top for XA at 0.37. And he's top for shots on target at 2.5 per 90. What's not to like?
Well, I guess for me, it's just that.
It's just the rotation risk.
Yeah, so for me, I would try and stretch from here and just get to Jota. I think he's like 8.9 million now as a forward. It's not ideal that he's not a midfielder, but if you're going to go Firmino, I feel like just stretch a bit more and get to Diego Jota. Like with Diaz out, like to me, Jota seems like if you're not going to go for Salah in that amazing stretch of matchups from 13 to 16, surely there's a Liverpool attacker you want somewhere in there. Just surely, like we always say, like good fixtures will breed form. So I still think they're the second best team in the country. Like I said, they've lost 2 games in 2022 in the league.
But if
you're not going to go for Salah, you got to get someone. Like I would want one of their attackers.
Yeah, if you're a numbers man, Firmino jumps off the page.
Well, I have him in my draft league. I bought him in a few weeks ago because he was like untaken, a free agent, and he's been doing very well for me.
All right, so Callum Wilson is generally seen as the number one option for a Mitrovic replacement if we need to do it right now. I think that's what we agree on, right?
Totally. Yeah. Do you want to? Is it the captaincy next? And
yeah.
I've got a couple of questions from Discord as well.
All right, we'll put the captaincy up then. Okay, ready?
Just while you do that.
Pomp. Cut you off in your pomp.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say just while you did that, I was gonna say, guys, like I think we just hit like a peak high concurrent viewers at 38 tonight. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Quick shout out to some of the guys who've tuned in since we went live as well. Andy Max here, got Harry Dawson, FPL Sparta. I think those are some of the new guys who jumped in the live chat since we last spoke. And then I guess the other thing was like, please, if you do find this useful, interesting, entertaining, hit that like button. I think it's the first time we've asked for a like in like an hour and 24 minutes. So you know, it's like 12:30 at night for me, like 7:30 a.m. in the morning for Mariner.
Yeah.
Please support us and give us that like. And the FCA Football Content Awards votes are finished now as of yesterday. So we will find out in November at the awards ceremony if we make it into the top 3 for best in fantasy football creators category. So thank you everyone for voting us and getting us into the finals again this year.
You're going, are you, John Terry?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm actually going to sit on a table with, we've already let the organizers know. I'm going to sit with Ross, FPL Raptor, and Oscar, FPL Focal.
There we go.
FPL Harry. I'm stacking my odds. I'm going to feel
100% going, 100% trying to get on the editorial bloody thing and you know, hedging your bets as well, right?
I'm filling my table. Like, you know, if Hub are all about FPL win editorial, I'll be sure to pose with their trophy. If Big Man Bakar wins editorial, I'll even collect his prize on his behalf while he's in Pakistan. So, you know, like I'm ready. I'll put on some glasses and pretend to be him. I'm shameless, guys. But yeah, no, it's going to be great fun. I think in Manchester later next month, and it's honestly amazing seeing so many people from the football industry at these awards.
We're just happy to be there.
Yeah, we're like the minnows of the competition, right? We're competing with people with like 400,000 subs.
Absolutely. So anyway, let's look at this captaincy metric then. Well, if he's fit, Kane actually tops it. There we go. That's interesting, isn't it?
See, that is very exciting. Haaland's very high despite the fixture away. Like, it's probably City's toughest fixture of the season.
It's the zonal. It doesn't like him. And, you know, he's actually on an average now as well, rather than the left or the right. So it suggests that Liverpool are tighter than it. Hang on a minute. My little one's crying.
No worries.
Sorry if you can hear a little baby crying in the background, but yeah, so it looks that it's just the zonal drags him back a bit, but not an awful lot because it doesn't have much weighting. I mean, if you looked at previous, Haaland tops Kane, and then if you look at the actual this game week, it's son of a Kane because I think it senses the possible flag on Kane, which is why he's not there, which suggests to me that if Kane is fit, then he's even a better captaincy option than it actually suggests. So for me, yeah, Kane 92 percentile for minutes, 94 for haul, 98 for returns, 96 for form, very, very good here. 100 for fixture difficulty, 98 for anytime returns, 98 for expected points. 73 for zone gives him, well, actually, it depends which metric you want to look at. I've put them both up there. But anyway, the one we work on is the far side, the second one, which is 96. Haaland 92, Son 87. But that's a big gap, Nima, between Son and Kane. That's a big gap.
Yeah, that is a big jump. I guess originally my plan had been kind of Jesus to Kane. And I was going to fund that with the Cancelo downgrade, as I say. However, I just can't see myself selling Cancelo. And Jesus has the best kind of zonal matchup this week. You kind of, and then Haaland was the other alternative. Am I really going to go against Haaland's EO to get Kane? Like, you know, obviously, like that could be one way to fucking kickstart my season if Haaland blanks and I sell him for Kane and captain him and he hauls.
Yeah.
Like, but that kind of risk is just, that's not the way I play FPL.
I
can't be doing these huge 5,000% green arrows followed by a shit ton of red ones.
Nope.
I can't play
I agree with you. But I mean, Kane has been captain 3 or 4 times by this metric this year, and it's not got it wrong yet. He's been okay every time. So he's returned every time. I think it's. I mean, look, Haaland can break metrics, right? He just breaks metrics. He's got the ability to break teams. He's got the ability to break statistics, the ability to break metrics. Kane, if fit, is a very, very solid captaincy shout this week. I will be captaining Haaland because I don't own either Kane. I don't own either Kane or Son or De Bruyne. Rashford jumps up. That was an interesting one. I don't know why on earth he's got up there, but he has. So that probably just tells you a little bit of a story that, you know, his underlying numbers are better than you. That is probably going under the radar a little bit. Foden's there as well. Then you've got players like Fernandes, Tony, Salah is miles down, guys. miles down now. And I think that just tells a story. Do you agree?
Yeah, no. It's actually terrifying seeing Tony above him.
Yeah,
regardless
well,
of the
Tony
fixture.
and Rashford and players like that above Salah. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I mean, look, we're only really concentrating about the real captaincy shouts here this week, and that is Kane, Haaland, Son. And I think that is about as far as you go. I don't know whether you'd go anywhere else, Nima. Just that's the short list.
So obviously the other alternative move I had was like De Bruyne to Son. Son's a little bit higher up than him in here. Obviously, I wouldn't captain either of them, but still seems like a potentially viable move before the wildcard. Like that fixture for Son. Is it Everton home? Like it could be a bloodbath.
Well, yeah, and if you're talking about predictions, Son's tops. Son tops it. Okay.
Yeah, so I think he's definitely something I've got to think hard about. I think owning Son or Kane is enough. If you have one of them, you're already going to be ahead of most of the field.
Yeah,
you don't have to necessarily captain against Haaland necessarily.
I think that's a very sensible way of looking at it. If I was doing that, as much as the metrics pick, and the metrics trying to claw its way back, I'm not sure it's going to claw its way back opposing Haaland. But anyway, we'll go with it. We'll go with the numbers. It is what it is. He tops it. So, yeah, I think the old metric actually was there as well. He tops that as well. So there we go. So you can see the old numbers on the other side. Nima, have we got any questions just very quickly before we have to escape?
Yes. So give me 1 second. I've got a couple from the YouTube members on Discord. So Don Black Dragon for Gameweek 12. Best KDB 1 week punt replacement who can be given captaincy armband. Salah home to West Ham, Son away to United, or Trossard home to Forest.
I mean, you shouldn't even be having this conversation, should we? This is the stupid thing about it. We shouldn't even to have this conversation. It should be Salah, shouldn't it?
It should be home to West Ham. Don't think Son away to United is one I'd be going for.
No.
Trossard against Forest. I can't see you doing KDB to Trossard unless, like, what are you doing with the rest of the money? Like, are you spending it to upgrade somewhere? Because if you're not, I just get Salah if you're not, because it's kind of like, surely Trossard you can get for someone else.
You could be holding some money in the bank to then let it loose in 13 at the fixture swing. I suppose.
Yeah, he could be. I guess if he's already used his wildcard as well. And then his other question, but yeah. So on that note, I still think it's Salah out of those three, but. For a captaincy, I would not be captaining Trossard, even if it's Forest. That is just not for me. So he also says Game Week 12 onwards, best budget fourth defender who plays in Game Week 12. He's looking at Veltman, Anderson, Sessegnon. So I think, firstly, out of all of those, I wouldn't be buying any of them. I just wouldn't. But I'd potentially get Gahey for 4.3 million from Palace. The same price point as these guys. It's all about that. It's all about that fixture, though, right? Game Week 12, Palace play Wolves at home. Wolves can't score goals.
Yeah, true.
If you're looking for a clean sheet in Game Week 12,
that's why I've got him, and that's why I ain't selling him. But I hate it.
And the following fixtures, right? Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Forest. I think it's better than the other defenders he's mentioned. There is obviously a Leicester defender. We've all been burnt by Wood this season. I got screwed by Justin this week, but.
Me too.
Raptor got fucking 7 points from Castagna off the bench, who got subbed early and maintained his clean sheet. So, yeah. So there is Justin Castagna, Gahey. I think they're your alternatives at that price point, but it's very slim pickings. And outside of needing to use that player in Game Week 12 for that one good fixture they have, these guys should be on your bench. Yeah, I wouldn't be playing them. And then last question before we go. So Greenback Golfer. This is a really good question, actually. So is anyone starting to lean towards targeting assets that won't be going to Qatar or are on the fringes of a place, essentially avoiding players that may attempt to dodge injuries and not be giving 100%? So as we start to get to this period now, see a lot of games with midweek games as well for the big teams. Do we worry that some of these players might be a bit more reserved to prevent injuries going into this World Cup?
It's an interesting way of looking at it, isn't it? I've looked at it the other way around and looked at fringe players trying to secure players coming back from injury, trying to secure their position.
That's why bloody got Maddison. I thought he's still praying to get on that plane.
Maddison, Pickford. I know Pickford would probably be number 1 anyway, but he's probably a man possessed when he wants to pull an England shirt on. So I thought I might see that, but just Everton just so bad. Maddison, again, you'd think about players like that. It's entirely possible. I think we could be getting into some carnage as we get quite close to the World Cup. I think it's a very difficult question because you could just as easily say, actually, I'm going to try and swerve some of these. As much as you bring them in, you could swerve them, like you say. I'm not sure. Where are you on it? I think of it from the other side of like targeting opportunity for people to play higher, play better to try and get in.
So that's why I'm getting Salah on my wildcard and probably for Gameweek 12. Like, he's not going to a World Cup.
Yeah,
I want him. Haaland's not going to a World Cup. I would actually look at potentially not necessarily which ones to target now that aren't going to a World Cup, but come Gameweek 17 when we get unlimited moves, you got players like Odegaard from Arsenal not going to a World Cup. You know, if Saka and England go far and come back late, if Martinelli ends up going to Brazil and comes back late, suddenly there's these interesting assets who've not gone anywhere.
England England
I don't think so either. I don't think so. But I'm actually looking at it more from like, what do we do in Gameweek 17 coming back out of the World Cup? Like, who are the players who've just spent 5-6 weeks training at home with their squad, staying fit? Like, I know Arsenal said they're going to go to a warm weather camp in Dubai. It's close to Qatar. If players get knocked out early in the World Cup, they'll fly from Qatar to Dubai to train with the team, and then they'll all fly back to London together. So it's like, I think a lot of the clubs will have similar plans to that, where they'll try to find a base to train near where the tournament is, and as teams get knocked out, they'll fly them back into their base camp to keep training. Well,
it's not a bad idea. I'll tell you what, I hope they've got good earplugs, because I'll tell you what, that place is going to be rocking during the World Cup. I looked at the hotel prices. I ain't bothering. It's crazy. It's miles to it. It's ridiculous. But no, I mean, you know, as a former Dubai resident, that place is going to be absolutely madness during the World Cup. So I'm not quite sure you'd be wanting to go there. But anyway, like you say, weather-wise, it'll be superb. So you can see why teams are doing that sort of thing for sure. But yeah, great point you make about the unlimited transfers in 17. Like you say, keep an eye on players returning. But that's a bit of a distance away, right? Belgium won't go far either. KDB, Trossard, and Castagna, right? According to Mr. Twister. Yeah, right. Okay. We'll see that if we believe. We'll see that maybe.
It's coming to the end of that Belgium golden generation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions, or are we done?
Yeah, no, I think we are done. I'm just checking if there was any I starred in the chat that we didn't get to. I'll have a quick look.
I think so. Just having a quick look.
No, I think we covered them as we went. There was the stuff around the goalkeeper, 4.5 goalkeeper, Trossard being a captaincy option in Game 12. It is being mentioned by quite a few. Like, I joke because like I have a premium bias and I can't captain Trossard over Salah, but that doesn't mean you should carry my bias with you and my baggage with you. Like, you should definitely do whatever your play style dictates. But for me, I can't see a world in which, like, no matter what the fixture, I just can't captain Trossard. I can't do it. Especially after what happened with Duffy all those years ago. Brighton have still left me scarred. Mr. Twister, he did ask, if you own both Haaland and Kane like me, who would you captain? This is a tough one, right? Because it's a huge opportunity to get ahead if you truly believe Kane can outscore Haaland, which he could in this fixture. I would see how Liverpool shape up. Do they revert to their 4-3-3 in the UCL? Do they stick to this new shape with 4 attackers on the pitch? Check Trent's prognosis. Will he be back? There's open questions on a Monday night for a Sunday game.
No, but you're saying check Trent's prognosis to see if he'll be back. And if he's back, then
you're thinking it's worse.
Then definitely Captain Haaland.
Oh, poor Trent. I feel like I still can't quite get over that Martinelli ran him so ragged he literally twisted his ankle and got injured and subbed the half.
I love it.
And he ran Gomez ragged to
get well soon, Trent. I need to keep chuckling. But no, we don't wish injury on anybody on that.
No, of course not. But yeah, no, it's been good fun. Hour 40 in. It's good to see you, Mariner. Got up to over 40 concurrent viewers as well. So numbers.
Yeah, just as we leave, everyone appears. It must
It's
Asia.
all the
must
people
have-
in Asia waking
I
up.
think Asia's woken up. Yeah. I'm just saying we're not far away from getting to the 8-hour time difference, right, between us.
Yeah,
Because
so
it's
the
the end
clock
of the
should
month,
change soon.
so we'll have to decide at what time we go live, whether we just stick with the same time, take you an hour forward, or or do it the other way around, right? And go at the same time and take Asia a bit forward. You still there, or are you off?
Yeah, no. I'm
Oh,
just
sorry, I
checking
thought you'd
for any more
froze.
questions in Discord,
Right.
but yeah, no, I don't see any final questions. Okay, cool. So once the time zones change, we'll have a little look and see what to do. But no, it's been good fun. We'll be back for Game Week 12. We will also start to obviously plan for that wildcard episode. I think maybe I'll roast my team for any other fellow viewers who are on wildcard with me. We'll do a special potentially, and we'll just go through and rate all the teams on wildcard. That was good fun in preseason last 2 years, so I think we can have some fun with that.
Yeah, I'm going to be part of this one, especially if you're wildcarding.
Yeah, you can roast me as well. So it's an opportunity to get back at me. So thank you everyone. If you enjoyed the episode, obviously please hit that like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And we will see you guys next time. Good luck, and may your arrows be green.